Welcome to episode 5 of Mic'd Up Exploring the Hidden Game with Ben Fisher, head coach of Reading Rockets under 14s. Hi Ben, how are you?
I'm well, thanks Mike. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for coming on. A bit of background to Ben. So he's got 23 years at Reading Rockets. He's the head coach of Rockets under 14s. He's also the assistant coach at Rockets under 16, and he is a coach mentor. Can you just talk about your 23 years at Reading Rockets, Ben? Obviously a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, well, it makes me sound extremely old, and as you know, I'm extremely young. But yeah, it's been an incredible 23 years. I got involved in the sport quite a late stage, really, when I was kind of 12, 13. And it was just handing out cups of water to the men's team who originally began in 1997. And from then, I've done multiple roles within the club. I'm very fortunate enough to work for the club full time. And coaching is a real passion, and working with young people is a real passion. So yeah, I've had a great experience and some awesome opportunities along the way.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm really looking forward to talking this game through with you. Obviously, I've watched it back, and it's a brilliant, especially for youth basketball. And just for clarity for people watching, Reading are in the red and Woking are in the black, and Ben Fisher is in that very large coat. Was it cold in there, Ben, by any chance?
It was absolutely freezing. I think it was the 14th of December, and I think it was one of the coldest days of the year. I don't normally wear a coat to coach in, but it's not the Arsene Wenger look. I just went for the normal Rockets jacket.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get going now. So what I'd like to ask first of all is, what's your objectives heading into junior games?
I think for all junior games, really, it's the players just being the best they can be and just committing to what they do, and ultimately enjoying it. That's really the most important thing for us. I think junior basketball is about having the best experience you can possibly have, really.
Okay, brilliant. And how do you measure whether or not you've met those objectives?
A number of ways, really. We started to do some little performance wheels with our junior players. We also measure things in practices. We have a little bit of statistical information, but we work a lot with basically game reviews, player reviews, a little bit of video analysis. So just keep it simple, but keep it fresh and something that the players can really work from.
Okay, brilliant. And obviously you're on defense right now. So what's the defensive principles you have with the guys?
So we're really trying hard to keep the ball in front of us. Number one thing. You'll see in a bit we struggle with that. As the season progressed, that got better. Our distance control got better, but it's really trying to not allow the other team to get into the paint easily. So stopping paint touches is a big thing for us, and trying to do that collectively is putting the small bits of the puzzle into the whole jigsaw. Is really key. So you'll see we try to do things like stunt off the ball. We introduced that this year. One of the big things for us in the way we play is deflections. So we try to disrupt what the other team do, especially in the half court. But sort of principally what we're trying to do as we evolve to under 16s, which I'll be fortunate enough to take this year, is to work on something called the tag up, then be in the contain phase, which is basically transition, in the disrupt phase, which is in the half court, and then really work on the box out. And I think you'll see in this game we really struggled in the box out phase.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're about to go on offense. What are you expecting to see right now? What would you like to see?
I'd like to see us just moving the ball, good spacing. So just we've got spots on the floor, just keeping the floor spaced. Try not to stick the ball. We really encourage our players to make 1-second decisions. I'm really pleased with this particular drive. That was the first time we really tried to penetrate the defense. I felt like early on we were a bit passive in this game. It was more catch and make the next pass rather than catch and be a threat. So that's what we want to see from the team. We want to see us try to get a piece of the paint, make one pass, maybe make the next pass, and just try to get the defense chasing us the whole time, to create the best shot and the best advantage. So that's a real journey, and I think the guys are doing a pretty good job with it so far, and I'm looking forward to having the chance to kind of evolve that this year, really.
Okay, great. Now you talked about on the catch there, and you said be a threat. So What do you mean? What are your expectations of the guys on the catch?
I think always being ready to shoot. We spend a lot of time working on shooting sort of technique and being ready to shoot. I think it's such an important part of the game at any position now. I think the game's evolving where, you know, if you can't shoot, it's going to be really difficult for you to get to that next level. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is putting the defender on the back foot. I think like a lot of times we're not. It's just basic fundamentals, really. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but you know, facing the basket and actually looking like you're going to do something rather than actually we know that the ball's coming here, it's going to be passed, so it's not really a threat for the defense. We should be able to see the defense always having to react and move. That's what we're looking for.
Out your seat already? You getting excited?
Yeah, no, I was all right in the first half. Pretty good. You know, one of the things this year for me is real good emotional balance. I feel I've progressed in that area a lot. I would say a number of years ago that was something I wasn't aware of, first and foremost, and number two, well, yeah, almost not able to control, in the sense I wasn't thinking about what do the players need. I was thinking about, well, I don't know what I was thinking about, to be honest with you, but I think that's really evolved. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking with the bench, because in these games we have all must play. So you have different lineups, so 5 on, 5 off, quite a lot of the time. So I'll be talking to the guys just to look out for stuff, but also for when there's a changeover or when there's a break in play, looking for the guys to actually communicate with their teammates coming out of maybe what they did well and what they can do better. So we're just trying to evolve that.
Okay, fantastic. I find it weird. First of all, it's weird how all the other team you're playing all have the same second names. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all called Woking.
Yeah,
You know, often you get that. Often you get
that.
But really good team in our league, and I really like what Woking have done over the years. I think they've really grown as a club, producing some really good players, and obviously number 7 was a big threat for them, and number 15 as well, who's somebody who we know, Tolu, our Joby, his brother, is on the court at the moment, and I think he's got a real bright future. But I really like the way we're pushing the ball now in transition. That's one of the things for us on offense is we have pace, space, and create, and I really like us even from a rebound trying to bust out. I think there's time to do it, and there's time to try to control the speed of the game. But
So
it's pretty good so far.
Do you want anyone to push as soon as they get it?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, because we're very much less position based. You can see I don't have an overly big team, so I think it's very important for us to be able to be multi-skilled and then kind of refine that as they get older. But we're going through a bit of a difficult phase at the moment. We're not seeing the defense on the pass. We're not moving to receive the ball. So our spacing and movement is a little bit static, as I kind of said to you earlier on. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, when we do attack, we've kind of had success. We've managed to get to the rim, or we've got fouled. So that was pleasing in some part. And I think my number 15 has been very good with that. So that's positive.
So do you look to assign ball handlers on offense?
Yes and no, really. I'm comfortable with anybody taking the ball up the floor, but you know, the guys that sort of are known as point guards, shall we say, they tend to handle the ball more. But really, I'm not too worried. I mean, all the guys on the floor, probably bar 11 at the moment, would probably be comfortable to handle the ball up the floor. So it's not a problem for me, just provided we're committing to our sprints in transition, and we're trying to fulfill our sprinting long and wide and keeping space early on so we can try to attack.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, number 7, you've touched on him already. He has a fantastic game. He looks like a very talented individual. He starts off really well. How do you try and stop him? What's your tactics with this age group?
I think, we kind of stuck towards what we'd been working on, really. So that's obviously distance control, number 1. So the person on the ball, and number 2, stunting. So just taking away the space for him to drive. That was his primary threat. He would drive a lot. I mean, what you could do is we could have denied him the whole game, etc., etc. But it's not something that we'd practiced, like box and one and stuff like that is not something I really want to see at under 14 level. So I really want to try and promote what we do, and the players kind of helping each other to work on stopping that main threat. Can they solve it together? So there has to be a time where I need to maybe step in if they haven't quite got it. But yeah, that's mainly what we're thinking here. But 16 points in 5 minutes is not the way we wanted to start. But you know, that's the game's very fast paced at the moment. And I have this in my mind, but I'm certainly not panicking because I know I've got a great set of guys.
And you touched on about the five. Everyone has to play policy, and you've just done 5 for 5. What do you have rationale behind your lineups? Do you have certain scorers, certain rebounders?
Yeah, we want a little bit of balance, and I think I've got 4 very good scorers in the group, so I kind of try to split them, and just as I say, just make sure we've got balance, and people that can sort of thrive with each other. So here's a really good example we airball the shot, but I've got no issue with that because we move the ball, we get a paint touch, we kick it out, he's open. That's no problem at all for us. So it's not about the outcome; it's about the process to what we're doing and how we commit to it. So I'm pleased about that, and that's a little bit better in terms of the one-on-one. But now we have an issue with the rebound. So those 2 things. Hence, that's why I call a timeout. We're not able to fix on the floor live, which is absolutely fine. Maybe I left it a possession too long, but we want to just tidy things up a little bit, which is hopefully what we end up doing.
Okay. And what does your dialogue contain in those
First 10 to 15 seconds is all the players. So they review first, they get the key things in. I'll add in 1, maybe 2 points maximum, quick summary, and then we're out of there. It's clear and simple. There's no point in overloading the players, and I'm very conscious, and for a number of seasons, unfortunately not so much this season, but for a number of seasons I've filmed my timeouts so I can look at what I'm saying in that, and how the players are receiving it. I think that's really, really important. And I think in the past I've just overloaded the players, or it's just been a frustration timeout, and that doesn't help them at all. So lots of solutions and working together. Hence the chemistry for the group I was really, really pleased with.
Great, thank you.
So this is really good here. You'll see in a couple of possessions we've got number 12 is really big for us. Sometimes we call it, he plays a little bit of Carlos ball because he tends to go lots of one-on-one. Okay. But again, his heart's in the right place. He's just determined to get to the rim and help his teammates. But what's coming up is him and one of the other players, I can't remember which number, it might be 13. They have a post-up action, which is absolutely nothing I've talked about in the timeout. But looking back, which is absolutely fantastic. Looking back on my practice notes, we'd done a little bit of like cooperative offense stuff, so just two-man game stuff, and they then just implement that themselves. What I actually found out when we reviewed the game afterwards, number 12 had said to me, he said, "Yeah, we spoke about, as we left the timeout, we spoke about that we could have an advantage inside." I was like, that is just fantastic.
You're happy.
So
you're happy.
Yeah, it just means they're becoming more self-sufficient, which is what we're asking them to do, and they've also got great ideas. And listen, even players of this age have great ideas that you might not, as a coach, think about. That's why it's so important to give them that confidence, and just demand that commitment of them. Whatever your choice is, commit to that choice. And it sounds a little bit sort of Mark Bennett, who's been a big influence on myself, and certainly Alan, who's one of my main mentors. But yeah, it's really important.
So with the post-up action, we're about to see it. You talked about at the beginning how you wanted to move the ball, penetrate and kick, get lots of people involved. With that post-up action, it's feed him and everyone stands still. Is that not going against your principles on offense?
Sure is, yeah. So it is in the sense of we build it. So obviously we pass into the post. Then what's the next action? We screen away. We either cut, etc., etc. But we also have a situation where we want to keep the space as well. And you'll see 2 or 3 possessions immediately on the catch. There he goes to, he goes to play 1-on-1. So I'm okay with that in terms of the spacing. Now, what for me, the next thing that needs to happen is as soon as the ball's released from his hand, we're going to tag up. So we're going to the player that was defending us to the inside of them, ready to either offensive rebound, ready to defend if the ball goes in the basket, or ready for defensive transition.
Okay, great. Now, another thing I noticed with your offense, there's not many ball screens. Are you trying to keep away from that? Oh, here's the post-up play. We'll just quickly talk about that. So this is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I think I'm pleased with that. I think some pretty good spacing. We're teaching deep seal even with guards and stuff like that, because we work on the game inside outside. So I think that's really important. I think we've started to defend a little bit better. We're keeping the ball in front of us a little bit more, as you can see. So I'm pretty happy with this defense. I think we've kept the ball on one side of the floor and forced a turnover. So I think two really good possessions there. One towards our defensive philosophies, but one out of our offensive philosophies, which is again absolutely fine, because the players have come up with it and they've had success. So why not go again? And they do go again. And this time they're doubled, and we've got to cut off there, which I think that's probably for me the best play of the game. I'm just the principles of movement off the ball, helping your teammate out, is just really beautiful. So, and that's really those guys. They're just making those decisions. It's awesome.
And do you then identify that to the guys on the bench? You say, look, this is what I'm looking for, or
Yeah, I think they recognise it and they can see it themselves. But I make a big issue when somebody really commits to what they're doing. We make a big issue of that, because it not only obviously it gives that player confidence on the floor, but it shows the other guys, right, this is what we're looking for. This is what the effort that's required looks like.
mm-hmm.
Because it's all well and good saying the things, but we've got to have a picture of it. So now we might be, remember in this game when X happened. So it's always, you can relate back to stuff. So I think that's really important, and it really gives a lift to everybody then.
So thank you. Back to the point we were talking about earlier. Very rare you run a ball screen. Is that to try and develop individual playmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the ball screen at kind of under 12, 14 is we're not quite ready for that yet. We're still working really on just the basics of offense, in terms of our, playing with pace, playing with space, and then our creating one-on-one. So the ball screen comes into that. So we do some work on that in practice. We let them have a go with that, because we do lots of 2-on-2 stuff. But in terms of playing 5-on-5 at the moment, it wasn't really at this stage of the season. It wasn't really in something that we needed to do. Although they will go to screen on the ball, from time to time, and that's no issue either.
And early on, we saw number 7 have success from receiving screens now and then. So how do you manage the impression of the guys who are seeing the success of the ball screen, and you being a bit tentative to run it yourselves?
Again, I don't think it's being tentative. I think it's just it's almost putting it in when we feel they're ready for it, and giving them a chance to use it. So they'll make a choice of what they do, relatively on offense. In terms of seeing it on defense, I think that the players aren't stupid, are they really? And I think that they know that if I've done a good job selling them the bigger picture, I think that's really important. So they know it fits, but they know that's probably a little bit later on down in their learning.
Okay, great. So 27-25, you're up 2. I had a great run end of the quarter post your timeout, 16-5 run. What changed?
Yeah.
What were you happy with?
Well, it's a barn burner at the moment, isn't it? Goodness me, 25-27 under 14 is incredible. What changed? All we did was really realign the players and just focus on the key keys of what we want to do. Just committing to what you do, and just reminding them of our defense. So our distance control, trying to be in the gap with our stunts, and then taking care of the box out. Just those three things. We didn't really say anything about offense, as we said earlier on, because the players came out and had a go at some other stuff, which was awesome. So that was the key thing, and we continue to drive that through the game. We have a good first couple of minutes, and then I think the halftime really helps us as well. And it's the same for everybody. Really, coaches need to be realigned, players need to be realigned, and it's just keeping with that message and just helping them with that. What solutions can we give if they're unable to find them themselves?
Okay. Was that your play at the end of quarter one, with the backstream and the wide open layout?
Absolutely not. No.
Not going to take credit.
No, I can't take credit for that, and nor would I. I'm very much a believer in, you know, the guy. I think we doubt sometimes what our players are capable of and the creativity they have, and our job is just to give them that creativity and help them with their choices, and then just review their choices, and move on from there. So again, it's good. They knew the time, knew the score, but then later on in the game we didn't. So it shows that they haven't quite got that yet. So that's a reminder to me that actually they need a little bit more. And our season, we didn't have many close games.
Okay.
So this was great for us in the sense of, you know, it was really competitive, great atmosphere, nice and tense. So could we perform under the pressure that we need to have to be better?
Okay. Number 6, number 7 is playing very well, as we've identified, and number 6 has guarded him the whole time. I think he's been unlucky on a few occasions with number 6 beating him off the dribble. Do you start to think I need to change the matchup, or are you allowing the guys to change that themselves?
Yeah, first and foremost, can he sort of realign himself? Can he make sure can he adjust his distance control, because that's what's hurting him? Second of all, can his teammates help him with that? So can they give him some information to help him, and can they then help him in terms of how we defend? And then it comes down to me. I think that one of the things, and this is interesting. He wanted to stay on that guy. He sort of was really thriving on that challenge. So I think at that moment it was right. You know, let him keep going with it. Give him some solutions, help him, and then make an adjustment later if we need to. I think which we did end up doing. But no, I admired him for that. Unfortunately, he got fouled out of the game and found that really tough. But this particular game was a huge learning moment for him, and we even speak about it now. And since then, he kind of really risen. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's really difficult moments, but they're normally the best moments to help you sort of grow.
And you saw on the possession, number 15 has now moved on to him.
Yeah. So we made a little change up. Obviously 15 is a little bit longer, which is helpful. Can cut off the drive a bit better. So, you know, a little change up. I think, having reflected on the game itself, I'd actually like to put different people on him, and not for him not to have the same look every single time. I think that's important, because he was scoring at will, really. And I think sometimes it does take time to find that solution. And the thing to do is not panic and not, you know, really go at the players. You know, at the moment, this is the situation. So, you know, step by step, we'll try to find that solution, which I believe we did in the second half. So that was really pleasing.
Now, a couple of times they've broke away on the fast break. What are you looking for the guys to do in defensive transition?
Well, I think the reason that was the case was because we didn't have great shot selection. So we were allowing them just to very short possessions, giving them easy rebound opportunities. So as I said, our principle, what we're trying to do throughout the club, is to tag up. So that means running to the inside of the person that's defending you at that point, ready to offensive rebound. So second chance points for us are a big thing, because I think with even with our size, I think if you're sort of ambitious and in the right position, that can really help you in terms of, getting extra points on the board and having extra possessions. But we didn't do a very good job of that in this game. And I think also it was evident that even if somebody, sprints the opposite way, I must go and find him. So it isn't running to the basket. And that's where the teaching of this is so key. And if players are going to the basket, then, I haven't done a good enough job to really sell the value of it and make sure they understand the principle of it. So that was something that we worked on and was reflected after the game throughout the season to really be better at, because it really then starts to help you in transition. And obviously, just key principles of protecting home, first one back, protect home, try to slow the ball down as much as we can, and then try to take away the next threat. So just very key things, very, very basic things. But I think if you do those things well, then it can really help your team.
Okay, thank you. On the past couple of offences, scoring has dried up a little bit, and that's because the shots you're taking are a little bit deeper. Even though the success wasn't there, they are, in my opinion, they were the right decision. So with your players, how do you balance the right decision in a game with the shooting success?
Sure. Well, we just have what does good offense look like? And
Okay.
for us, it's, did the ball touch the paint? Has the ball changed sides? So almost like, has the ball gone inside to outside, etc., etc. So that's really, when we're reviewing our decisions on offense, that's what we're looking at. So you can see we had 2 drives where we've kind of trying to finish 1-on-3. So we were playing what I would call very directly, which the players in their mind are thinking, right, we need to try and get to the rim, but it's how we go about that that's really important. So rather than just a direct drive, we need to move the ball first and just create that breakdown. Okay. So now as they get older, we can start to introduce things like, little pin down screens, might be a pick and roll to start us off, etc., etc. Just things that will trigger that and help them create that. So that was something that we didn't do very well in this first half in some moments, but then we got better when we were kind of like pushing the ball. And I think that's the pace of the game is really important to us.
Now, Woking have put on a bit of a man press, quite aggressive, and they're getting a little bit of success out of it.
Yeah.
How long does it take for you to then intervene? Or again, are you wanting the guys to work it out for themselves?
Yeah, obviously, what I'm not going to do is hang them out to dry and just leave them to it. And they may need me to step in quicker in this scenario than maybe others. But it's just a reminder of, right, what's the other team doing? What's the other team's objective? So once they've got that, then it almost helps them make that decision. Mm-hmm. So I don't really. Sometimes we have to tell them the solution, but more often than not, what we're trying to do is try to get them to discover the solution. But in this situation, it would have been more, right, well, obviously a press defense wants you to dribble the ball. So it's really important that we do what? Okay, well, pass, use the fake, meet the ball, very simple things. So it's not necessarily about, we'll put a press break in, because I think that's quite reactive. It's about the concept. What's the concept? The concept is this. So what do we need to do to counteract that?
Mm-hmm. With this under-14 side, can you just give a bit of insight into the preparation you have with them? How often you train? How many games are they playing?
Sure. We play most weekends. We train twice a week for 90 minutes. And
90 minutes each time, sorry?
90 minutes each time. Right. And we also do quite a bit of pre-practice stuff. So the guys will come in between 15 to 30 minutes early, and they might do some SAQ stuff, shooting form stuff, finishing stuff. So individual sort of skill fundamental stuff that will really kind of help them. So we can use as much time as we have available up. And what the lockdown's been really interesting. The stuff we've done, we've gone right throughout March to now on Zoom stuff, doing analysis of stuff, watching videos, them doing some research, then doing some presenting. So that's really helped me, like, think, goodness me, like we can, even if we're on the floor twice a week, there's so much more we can be doing. And we gave them some little homework things to do, and challenge them that way, just so they can, maximize the time that they have. So I think it's like our sort of junior club, how that is evolving well, and I'm trying to sort of, get that to be with our under 12s as well as our under 16s.
Mm-hmm. Now you're standing up right now and you're making a point to everyone. Can you remember what you were saying?
Yes, we're just talking about the defense there. We're at the moment, what's happening is like we're on the pickup of the ball. We want to wall up. So what that means to us is hips low, hands high. What's happening is that we're trying to sort of strip the ball, natural things players want to do, but we're getting a lot of fouls called against us, and rightly so. And we're also playing a little bit too close. The Woking guys tended to drive and spin a lot, so just trying to help them a little bit with that solution. Just jump off and keep the hands up. So all about that distance control, going back to what's key for us on defense.
Mm-hmm. And is it working on this possession right now? Would you say it worked?
No, I'd say he dribbled right down the middle. We weren't ready for the next, which was the rebound, and that's two times it's touched the paint. So, these things will happen. Like it's all very well to tell, but we've got to show and teach. So that's a mental note that I make. Going, okay, this is what we need. Another good little post up there that those guys had spoken about, which was awesome to see. But yeah, like in the point we were making about defense, I think that that for me was becoming urgent, and that was a time that we could just drip feed in one or two key points.
Number 13 really gets into it, doesn't he?
Yeah, great guy, great kid. Actually, he's on the end of the bench for our men's team, doing what I did all those 23 years ago, as you pointed out to me. Thank you. But yeah, like
pointed out, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, he absolutely loves the game. He's got a bit of a hot streak, but I think that because I was like that, we get on really well, and he's awesome to coach. And I think that sharpness is important in some players and shouldn't be bashed out of players. It should be moulded, and I think that's really important to recognise. So I'm very much now less. I'm so much less judgmental, because I don't think there's a place for it of like other teams' players, and if they have a reaction and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because I think all the kids are on a journey, and I've got no idea what that coach or what that club or organisation are doing with that kid. So I think that's always really important to note. So people in our league know he's a little bit fiery, mm-hmm. But I also know that that he's working towards being the best he can be. I really like that offense there where we played it a bit inside outside there, took the open three. Again, something I'm all right with. I want us to shoot the ball. I think that's really important. Again, the decision of when to, has the ball sort of touched the paint? Has it changed sides? On that one is yes. So we're definitely saying that's a good shot for that young man to take.
And down the stretch, when points are still obviously always relevant, but I mean relevant in a close game, do you still try and stay happy with that shot? Is there a part of you that's like, I still want to win, or is there?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think this is a really interesting one. I don't think you'll meet. Well, I'm pretty sure you won't meet a coach that doesn't want to win. Mm-hmm. I think winning is important. Obviously, it's not, certainly at this age group. It's pretty much irrelevant. But if we arrive to a situation where it's a close game and there's an opportunity to win, then of course we're gonna try to win the game and do things to win the game, because the players need to learn how to do that. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, they won't have that experience as they grow older. Mm-hmm. So sure, I mean, it's not something we look at we'll always, when we review, we'll always go, well, did we perform to the best we could? Did we commit to more actions than not? We'll always look at that first. But yeah, that element of it is, I think, is important to say. But having said that, I think it's always the first question people ask, isn't it? Did you win? I think that's so. How we work with our parents is we have conversation to maybe shape it a different way. So rather than did you win, it's right. How did you do? What did you do well? What could you have done better? And just more angled that way. So it's almost aligned with how the players themselves are reviewing after each practice and game, because I think that's so much more valuable than the did you win.
Yeah, you see them throughout the game, the parents coming on the court checking the score.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's the thing. There we go. There's one there, and they will, and it's natural.
Yeah.
And they're passionate, etc., etc. But I have to say, like, I had an incredible set of parents this year. They are so much part of the journey, and I think it's really important to realise that. And I don't think, like, in the past, I think I've honestly I found parents a nuisance. Now but that's because of where I was at, not because of the parents. So I think that change and growth over the years has shown me how important they are, and what a significant part they can play in the running of your team. And just the feel around our group was so good. Like our supporters bench was always full. We would literally have 20 parents at every single game, supporting, cheering in a really good spirit, and that's fantastic. And if you can be part of bringing that together with the player, the parent, and the coach, I think there's nothing better. So, yeah, I really enjoy working with parents now and speaking to them and actually listening to their thoughts as well. I think it's important. You can't be coach and parent, but also I think, like, listening to what they have to say and what they see can actually help at sometimes.
Okay.
Now, and sometimes you need to dismiss that, and I think that's where, as I'm growing, I'm able to kind of decipher that, what's important, what isn't. But I still think that's a really important part of the journey.
Great. Okay, all right. So, score is 45-41, as we're about to see. Thank you, cameraman. What's your halftime discussion with the guys?
Too many points for the other team, really. 45 is extremely high.
Okay.
We would want to be holding teams to 15 points a quarter, so 60 in the game. So you can imagine 45 is very high. So what do? Well, we certainly don't go into the change room going, berating them. We go in and just, again, we realign and we remember the key points to how we can achieve our success. So our success criteria was really developed during the game in terms of the tech-tac. But the success criteria beforehand, which is, commit to your choices, and try and do everything as to the best of your ability. That always is the same. So yeah, what we did was we just reminded them of distance control stuff, how we want to stunt, and I support them with that a little bit more in the second half, as you'll probably see. But we had a good start to the third quarter, so it just shows their togetherness. Simple, clear points. How that can have a positive effect.
Now, in the first half, you were talking about you try and stay seated. And on that first play, you're very energetic on the sideline. Was that to try and help with the defence?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. 2 years ago in the National Cup final with the under-18s against Haringey, we had we made some very clear points at half time. And one of the things that Alan reflected with me was he didn't feel that I drove those points in the third quarter. And he didn't feel that I should have taken a timeout earlier to really drive them. And that really stuck with me. But I think there's a fine balance to that. And it can look like you don't have, the emotional state. But in this moment, I felt because I felt my emotional state was quite positive. and my objective was to drive and to help, then that will then be infectious to the bench, and they can do that, because ultimately that's what we want the bench to do, is to scan and make sure that the guys on the floor are delivering. So that was my objective, that was my thinking there. But yeah, great. We came out number 4, hits a 3 in the corner, great bit of confidence for him. So yeah, a good start for us. And just making sure that we're delivering the things we want to deliver at the defensive end.
And I think I'm going to compliment you here. I think your coaching with number 6 is fantastic. He's just come over and spoke to you. Number 7 is not having the same success he had, and you could have quite easily said at halftime, no, number 15, you're staying on him. He stays on him, and he's now successful. So I applaud you for that, because that's going to do fantastic for his confidence. Look at him; he's right in the game now, stunting. He's really up for it. So yeah, fair play on you. Fair play to you on that one.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. This sequence, we end up shooting a contested 3.
Yeah.
Okay, the rebound doesn't end up in our favour, but you can see that they've just through a reminder and reminding them just to commit to their choice makes a huge difference. That's not me, driving at them, etc., etc. That's me just helping them, and then him bringing it to life. And they're all such a pleasure to coach. I think it's a really good job. I think my favourite time of the week is coming with these guys to just be better and really enjoy what they're doing. But unfortunately for number 6, he does eventually gets fouled out, and he finds that moment very difficult, as I was talking to you about before.
But you can tell his whole body frame is a lot more out there. He seems a lot more confident. Just that he did basket in the first half, and now look at him.
Absolutely, and that's what we've got to remember is some of these guys won't have been in many pressure situations. And many close, not necessarily many close games. This is a group that lost every game last year, and then this year is winning games quite comfortably. So they haven't had many experiences of close games, and that's something that is critical for them, and positions we want to put them in more often. So for him, he's a real thinker. So you can have great conversations with him. And his growth in terms of reflection and sort of buying into being the best he can be is awesome. And he was very much a win-lose. That's it. Like, if you win or lose. Whereas now his mind's developed, and he's much better at sort of reflecting his own performance. And even if we do, if we lose, then he'll take positive from that and what he did well and what he can do better. And he's just really enthusiastic. He's now showing me like his shooting, like what he's been doing, etc., etc. It's great. Watching the growth of junior players is amazing for me.
So should we talk through this defense? Are you happy with what you're seeing?
Yeah, I think that again, the rebound is still an issue for us, but in terms of sort of closing the paint and trying to keep the guy in front of us, you could see that particular shot there. He was the number 6 who's now unfortunately fouled out. He was in front of him, but he just reached with his hand like this. So he was almost there. So he didn't have many fouls to play with. But what was great is his teammates went straight away and helped him. And what I should have done in that moment is actually just left him with his teammates, because his teammates were doing probably a much better job than I could do. But I just wanted to check he was okay, because he found that moment tricky. And like any player, he felt he'd let the team down, etc., etc. But actually, he'd made some significant contributions. And really, as I said to you before, the biggest win in this game was he learned so much from it. Nobody will ever remember the result of this game, but he will remember the game for what he experienced and learned. That's the most important thing, I think. So,
do you think it was a mistake keeping him in on 4 fouls?
Couldn't take him out because of the almost play. So for 3 quarters, yeah. Otherwise, it would have been a huge mistake. Yes, absolutely. But unfortunately, in those situations, you do, and it is rare players foul out. but it didn't happen to him since, because obviously he's a much more aware now, and needed that experience. So that was awesome.
I think your defense has improved so much from the first half.
Yeah, much more active. We have something we call the use of four, which is active hands, eyes, feet, and voice. And I think, like, we kind of spoke about that at half time. Just keep that a bit more active, and take away the space, and then the game will be a lot easier for us as we throw the ball off the backboard out of bounds. But that's where you have to remember, it's young players playing. These mistakes will happen. There's not even a purpose to react to that. Yeah. You can just look at that maybe after the game, or whenever. And it could be a simple thing, like even in practice. Oh, hey, number 11. Do you remember when you throw it off the bat? Right, what are you going to do differently now when you take it out of bounds? Bang, runs away from the backboard. Lesson done. And it's far better to do it that way than go, oh, you should have done this, you should have moved there. And honestly, a number of years ago, I would have done that for sure. And I look back and I cringe. But I'm obviously grateful for the learning that I've taken on board as well, because that's the thing at the end of the day. Players, parents, coaches, this is a journey. This is a learning journey, and there's always lots to come out of it. And if you can be good at just taking the right bits, then I think the growth is even more.
No, that was fantastic. Bit of insight there on how you teach them not to do that again. I'll definitely be using that. Like you say, the lesson is done the lesson is taught to him in a fun way. And if you had done it in the game, his confidence might have gone.
Yeah, and the chances are, if he's just done that, he's not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Like, he again, all players are thinkers. They may do things that, they may drive like 1 on 2 or 3 possessions in a row, and your job is just to remind them that obviously if you do the same thing, then you'll have the same outcome. So if I was going to say anything, and I wouldn't have done it in that moment because it was an isolated thing, but if players do that, I just remind them of that, and just say, and ask them, what are you going to do differently now? What can you do differently? And they get them to show us, and that's what we do in practice. We get them to show, and then we can make a little suggestion here and there. And it may be they're struggling a little bit, so in practice I might go, right, try this now. It's a little bit different. They won't be expecting it, and then that builds their confidence. And it doesn't mean you're telling all the time, but you're just giving like little hints for them to sort of be better and maybe get one up on their opponent in that moment.
Okay, you're talking about feedback and a lot of teaching points there. Are you conscious of how you give feedback? Do you have structured feedback? I've watched a few clinics over the summer, and Chris Oliver was talking about say something they should keep and then add something. Are you mindful of how you provide feedback?
Yes, because I think you can overload the players. I think that's really important, and I don't always get this right for sure, but I think it's if you stick with your success criteria, or your desired outcome, and two phrases I've stolen from Alan Keane, of course, but then you can it's just reminders, and I think that's really, really important. And then when it comes to the video stuff, I think certainly with under 14s, just little one-to-ones, even if it's just 5 minutes before practice, maybe just looking at a couple of different things that they can then implement. And what we always have is we have what we call our work-ons. So as the season went on, I would say to the guys, right, this is what I'm working on this session. And sometimes it'd be something like, right, don't talk too much, or in the player timeouts, it's imperative they speak first. So if I start to speak, they say to me, coach, just wait. And they have the permission to do that. Absolutely. Because again, we're all on journeys, and they will help me with that. And because, if we can forge that trust through, the really positive relationships and how we are with each other, then why not? Then why not? As I said before, they're players, they're thinkers. They've got some good thoughts and ideas.
Mm-hmm. They certainly do talk a lot to each other, which is fantastic to see. Your hands are on your head right now. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you remember why? Why? What? Are you frustrated? Am I wrong to
Clearly, I am frustrated, and as we know, hands on head helps so many players, doesn't it? Not at all. Yeah, it's great because like these games, I get to watch it back. Yeah, obviously how the team's playing, but also how I'm coaching and stuff like that. And I noticed I did that a couple of times. I think what I did positively was I managed to realign myself pretty quickly from that. But I think I was frustrated because it was just a couple of possessions where we turned the ball over. They got offensive rebounds, etc., etc. But what I need to do in that moment is, if I'm doing that, then how are the players going to react? Well, they're probably going to react even worse. So yeah, when I watched that back, I was like, goodness me, you need to make sure those moments, those even expressions, they play a part in how the player feels and thinks. So yeah, very mindful of that. And that's not to say that no player or coach should be expressionless and can't get frustrated. Absolutely not. But I think it's important, especially at this age group, to make sure it's a real positive atmosphere, and that type of emotion, if it is emotion, is either not seen or I check it very quickly.
Thank you. Do you feel, from being mindful of it and then altering the way you are, does that mean, are you still being authentic? Are you still being true to yourself?
Yes, I do, and tell you why. Because I think you learn so much through making mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's so clear to me now um, how I was, a number of years ago to how I am now, and
Mm-hmm.
how I am now is, listen, I've got a long, long way to go. People will say he's been coaching a long time, but that learning never stops. And you've also got to make sure you know your niche within the game as well. And I don't think I've found that quite yet. I think I'm well on the way to do so. But I think that um, having great relationships with players, I know it's spoken about a lot, but it is incredibly important, and it's such a great challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I absolutely love about sport and team sports, is if you get that connection, you can achieve great things. And
Mm-hmm.
I in my early years of coaching, I never achieved great things. I never achieved good things, simply because I was just doing this all the time with the players, and was reactive, and I just hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So that certainly wasn't me, or I didn't want that to be me. Um, and I think there's obviously things in your own life as well that have an influence on that. So if you work on those things, and be the best you can be, then it will infiltrate to your players. So that I'm a firm believer in that. And again, yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but it's really helped me be a much better coach and just a much better person, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. Now we're about to head into the fourth. Um, what what are you looking to do with your lineup? Do you now everyone's played? Are you trying to go with your best five, or you carrying on with the?
Yeah, I mean, now everyone's played, so we're in a situation where it's a 1 point game. So obviously we've had a lot of games beforehand where it hasn't been too close. So we've given lots of players a chance. Actually, my better players in inverted commas played the least amount of minutes in the season. So yeah, I want to give these guys an opportunity to do so, because they've shown that some of them are training with the under 16s. So it's nice for us to be able to put it all together, because eventually they're going to need to play with each other.
Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity for us to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And I really trust the guys that we put out on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I chose in this particular game just to shorten the rotation in the fourth quarter, knowing that the guys on everybody's fresh, really.
Mm-hmm.
um, Fresh as in they haven't played 30 minutes up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm thinking let's go for it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do, really.
Okay. Now momentum is with Woking. They've
Yeah.
scored quite consistently. They had a great end to the third quarter. Your offense has dried up. What what are you looking to? What are you considering to do to try and change this?
Just key reminders. If we can, I think the first thing is if we can get stops. I know that our pace is really good. I also know that I'm pretty happy with the offense overall. I think we scored a decent number of points. So I think I want to keep driving the defense because I believe it suits our style of game. Yeah, that was tough. And B, that's where the success will come for us. So I'm pretty pleased at the moment with the defense. We're still struggling in the rebound a little bit, but we've got a couple of stops now. Hopefully, we can get some. We've scored back-to-back baskets, so we've come out of that rut a little bit. And again, I've got confidence in the guys that they can score when we need to score. Really.
Are you a coach who tries to keep something in the locker for the fourth quarter? Maybe a bit more of a press or a run and jump, or do you, at this stage do you stick with what?
I mean, under 16s, yes, I would say so. Probably at this age, not really. I mean, I will obviously have stuff for out of bounds and stuff maybe to get us easy baskets towards the end of the game. And I think it's good to show the players that, to expose them to that, to give them a little bit of direction to help them to win. But it's not at the sort of forefront of my mind. What's at the forefront of my mind is it's to try to keep sticking to the key principles of what we set out at the beginning of the game, and also obviously for our team overall.
Okay, great. Can you just provide an overview of this offense right now?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, that stuff's obviously come from the two-man games stuff that we'd worked on. Again, not called by myself. That's player's choice, which I'm absolutely fine with. We passed the ball inside. We cut off the post. We didn't replace, and then we ended up playing 1-on-3. And I think that's where all it shows is the layers that we've been building. They're probably at the second layer out of however many. So it just reminds me that we need to keep working on that. As I say, we do a lot of 2-on-2 off-ball decision making, because I think a lot of on-ball being creative is taught and done. But what we've tried to do this year is a lot more reading what your defender's doing off the ball. If he's late to defend you when you're coming from the corner to the wing, can you front cut? If he's overplaying, back cut. On the catch, can I rip and take the baseline, etc., etc. That type of stuff. We do a lot of that, and we were just kind of evolving the post stuff. So we'd only got to really pass into the post, cut, and replace. So obviously, if that's what we've done, then that's going to be in the players' minds. So it's important for me. What it showed me is that they're moving to a pattern rather than to the flow of offense. So the concept of it needs to be explained better. So that's kind of what I took from that possession.
It's a great atmosphere in this the leisure centre.
It is, yeah, good little gym. Again, lots of supporters in there, all wanting their boys to succeed and win, which is fantastic. So yeah, really pleased about that.
I think it's great for them to experience that at a young age. I've played many games where there was no one there, and it wasn't the same as playing at senior. So for them to have that experience as well is only going to help.
Absolutely, and I think you used the right word there. The experience is the most important thing, isn't it? I think I think it's great. A number of us complain about the floor or the temperature or this, that, and the other. But it is important to have those experiences, because once you've got them in the locker, you can draw upon them. So I like to go into different experiences, because I think it then helps the guys as they get older.
Very competitive, isn't he? Number 13 is great.
He certainly is. Certainly is. Top lad.
Something else. Sorry. Carry
I was
on.
just going to say, cliche. He'd run through a brick wall for me. So, and his team. So we love him to bits.
Yeah, he has had a few charges on him. So
yeah, he has.
At the brick wall. Something else I noticed throughout the game is you rarely talk to the referees. Is that a conscious decision, or is it just natural that you don't talk to them?
Yeah, I think my relationship with referees is so much better just because of where I've come from to where I am now. Um, Coaches that have seen me coach would just think, years ago I was just a nutcase on the sideline, shouting at refs, etc., etc. First and foremost, they're human beings.
Hmm.
They're there to help the game. They're there to do a job, and they do it in the main. They do it to the best of their ability.
Hmm.
So why on earth would you, have a go at them? Again, especially at this level.
Hmm.
Um, but now, I'm always, I treat them like they're an integral part of the game, which they are.
Hmm.
So very rarely, I would get a technical foul or anything, because I would just speak to them. Maybe I will ask a couple of questions, but to be honest with you, there's so much more to focus on. If I'm having talking to refs in my top 10 of most important things during this game, I'm doing a bad job. So that really is why it's irrelevant. I'm really happy with like the fact we've got two refs and the game's running. That's it.
No, well said. Aburn just hits a big three, number 13,
Yeah, I don't know if he hit it. Did he hit it before, or is it next possession? I can't remember.
just before. The other point I just want to talk about is you talked about your tagging up system beforehand, and I am a fan of it. I really like it. However, a few times in this game, they've had quite a few points from leak outs. How do
Yeah,
you, what do you do about that? Do you talk about that in a huddle, or do you let them work it out themselves?
yeah. Well, again, that's teaching, isn't it? Like the concept is the key. They've clearly got the concept of running to the basket rather than running to their man. So again, even if somebody goes out on the break, like number 7 here, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they're on offense. Sorry, but even if, let's say he was going to offense, that his defender should be running with him, or the nearest player should be running with him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about whether he goes. It's not for us running north. It's whether he goes north, south, east, or west. We need to be next to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's hard to do. It is hard to do because the player's mindset is offensive rebound,
Yeah.
whereas the tag up offensive rebound is 33% because the other two things in it is a defensive based. So it's just making sure that we teach that correctly, and B, they really, really understand the concept. And that's all it is. It's a reflection of them not quite understanding the concept. So it means they need more work on it, and it means I need to teach it better, which is great. They're just showing me what they need.
Okay. If you could, Ben, if you wouldn't mind just chatting through this next possession, next defensive possession when it comes out, that was a great offensive rebound right there.
Yeah, he's trying to organise the floor a little bit. It's good, but we just need to.
Forget about the
You
shot
see,
here a bit.
yeah, exactly. And the problem is we stick the ball and keep the ball in one place. But next possession, which is fine.
What's your thoughts on what you're seeing right now?
I'm pretty happy. We're in a good place. I think if we can, again, stick to our principles of defense in the sense of, just number 7 is the heartbeat for them. So if we can take that away, which we did in that possession,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep the scoreboard ticking over, move the basketball, stuff like that, take time off the clock. That's going to be key for us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, players have not been in this situation much before, so we have to be wary of that. So not getting like the emotional state is critical for everybody in this state. They've got the parents on the sideline who are excited. So it's very important that myself and them, even though I'm quite excited on that one, as you can see, it's probably the most excited I've been in the game. But it's just keeping driving that, and that's the competitive edge really. But again, I've then got to realign myself. So he comes over, we have a discussion, bang, straight out of there, which is great. And I know he's got it because he's receptive of that. And then his teammates just helping him, and that's the guy that's got fouled out is now on the sideline helping his teammate, which I'm over the moon about, because he was in a really tough moment. But you can see already he's taken that step to realign himself and help his team.
Okay, thank you. Next question I have is just to do with the subbing. Everyone on your team clearly has great fundamentals. They know how to play the game. But from the rule of everyone has to play and having 5 out, 5 in and 5 out, do they learn an important concept of subbing? Do they not? Do you think they miss out on that? Because I think that is a part of the game that is important to know about.
That's a really interesting question. I mean, there's obviously sort of pros and cons of the all must play rule. I actually really like it.
Okay.
I think it forces you to play everybody. It forces you to think about who to have on the floor with who. The players know, like they're ready. They're quite excited for when they're going in. You can sort of prepare them a bit more, etc., etc. So it's like it almost forces you to prepare them before they go in. Okay. So actually, when we then do sub in a what we would call a normal game, that hopefully should be the players are ready and I'm ready to give them that 1 or 2 points because we've practiced that because of we were kind of forced to do so. So that's on that side of things. But yes, I think it is important for them to sub. I think that I was only having a conversation with another coach the other day about, I think like 3 to 4 minutes is probably your maximum, burn you can get from one player if he's going 100%. And ultimately that's what we're trying to do. And I think that's quite important, that players shouldn't think they have to play lengthy minutes. They should go out there giving the best they can for the time that's on the floor. But then that's also dependent on the coach managing that. And, the tendency is, well, I need to leave him in a bit longer and we still need him on the floor because he can do this. So I think it throws up all sorts of things. But no, I like it for this age. And it'll be good for the next year, 2 years at under 16s, where it's normal subbing. I just want them to deny. You can see now, like for me, I wrote down, I have to say, I feel still on a journey to managing my emotional state. And I think that this kind of exposed me in this game. And it certainly in the end game, despite us winning, and we did fine. But on my reflection, because I reflect on each game and how I coached, and same as the players, what I did well, what I could do better. I would have liked to have seen that better. I needed to be in control a little bit more. But as I say, sometimes it just needs that little bit of spice as well. Yeah. So I didn't overdwell on it, but it was a point I noted.
I think there certainly is a balance. When I was coaching the University of Hertfordshire team this year, I reflected on one game. I spent the whole game standing up, being energetic, being loud, and I thought, what am I doing? Am I helping the guys with this? So the next game I sat down and the captain actually came up to me and said, "What on earth are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Why are you sitting down? That isn't you. That you give us the energy to play aggressively on defense. And it really is a fine line between losing your emotions and helping the team. But I thought you made some great points there about how far you've come with developing your emotions. With developing the control of your emotions.
I think the thing to ask myself, the thing I asked myself is right. Were you that emotional when they were playing good defense, or were you that expansive when they were playing good defense earlier on in the game? And the answer is either no or much less. Mm-hmm. So why towards the end of the game where there's pressure, it's more tense? Do I then do that? Okay. So I look back on it and go, actually, it could have had an adverse effect. It could have made the players more tense. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't, but I still need to reflect upon that, because in another situation, it might. So I think for me, it was a great moment during the season to sort of realign myself in terms of that.
Do you remember how you're feeling right now?
I think, honestly, a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. These guys work so hard. I really want them to win and experience that success. Mm-hmm. But but also thinking, well, hang on a second, like they need you to be really cool in these moments, and they need you to give the direction. But obviously, when the end of the game came, I was absolutely thrilled for them, because they've been, as I say, they've been on a really significant journey where last year they experienced, lots of losses, but we stuck to the same principles as we did this season, and that's just being the best version of yourself with what you have in every moment. And it's put us in good stead so far. And every day's a learning day, and we just keep growing. And I know that's, again, sounds a bit cliche, but so important to young players, that they do that and they just love the game, and that's key. And this is a moment where we could have real enjoyment. So let's enjoy it, but be balanced with it.
Okay, great. All right, I've got two final points, mate, and one of them is an interesting one, and that is about there's three guys on each team, Reading and Woking, that are taking the majority of the shots. Is that a problem, do you feel? Do you think there should be other guys shooting the ball?
Great. It's a great question. I think you will have that just because of the nature of the sport and the game itself. Okay. Obviously, like for us in practice, that's such a critical time. And I know all the players are getting, lots of repetitions with, and that's why we do lots of 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type work, because I think it's such a good teaching tool, and it means that everybody's involved. And I think that what I liked there is that number 4 hit a 3 in the corner. The guy, when the ball got pitched inside, came out to him and he was open, he shot the ball. A little point guard, he made a long 2 from the sort of baseline corner in the first half. So I'm not overly worried about it, because I think I know I'm looking at the bigger picture, and we're also, when we review, we're looking at what's the best possible shot. Okay. So, if you've got those skills, you're desperate to use them. Hence, that's why I said to you about that one player I have who we name a little bit of offense after him. So it's making sure that we don't bash that out of him, but we make him look at the different options. I think that's how we learn together. And I don't feel, and I would ask the players, I don't feel that they think that they never see the ball or the other players are a hindrance. I think that because of the chemistry they have, they love another player's success. And I think if you manage to sort of teach that and infiltrate that into your teams, then that's just absolutely fantastic. There's nothing better than celebrating somebody else's success.
And you could tell by their reaction at the end, all of them are up celebrating together, and that's great to see. It really was a great win. Watching it back, I've watched it back a few times now, and for me, it wasn't just a great competitive game, but it was a great learning opportunity for all of your players. And a measurement for that is we talked about defense a lot, and how in the first quarter you conceded 25, second quarter you conceded 20, third quarter you conceded 19, and then in the final quarter you only conceded 13 points. So you can tell just in that game they improved on the defensive end. So hats off to you for that one. What would you say your main reflections are? What would you say your main takeaway points are
from that game? Yeah. I think, we always do it in sort of a kind of structured way. So in terms of what I did well, I felt like for the majority of the game I was calm, giving them good instruction when needed, allowing them to make their choices, helping them with their choices. I think that's been a pretty consistent during the course of the season. Then what could I have done better? Again, key moments. Not necessarily being so animated. And I think one of my biggest things is allowing the players to make sure that they speak to each other first, rather than me sort of stepping in. It's knowing when to step in and knowing when to step back. And I think that's an ongoing development of mine. And just keeping sort of practicing what we're asking them to do and how we're asking them to be. I was watching some timeouts from our practice back the other day, and the players spoke for the whole time. In one particular practice, we had like three. We would take on water in the middle of the floor, and they feed back to each other. And I think like, why should a game be any different? You know, and that's why we give them that opportunity to speak at the start of the timeout. So I'm very conscious of that. So that's kind of what I take away in terms of the actual play. It was just really building, keeping, like, even though we won the game, is keep on building what we'd set out to build, first and foremost in terms of our defense and our 4 areas for that, and then how that will relate to offense in terms of our pace, space, and create, and just keep on the journey. You know, there wasn't any special preparation for that game. You know, it's under 14s. It's another game. It's another opportunity to compete and be better. So it just, when you are in a more competitive game, it just shines the torch a little bit brighter, I think, in terms of what you need to do better. And certainly the rebound was something that we needed to help them with, technically and conceptually, as well as the other bits and pieces I talked about in terms of stunting and tagging up. And just, we showed the players, we had a couple of really good stunts throughout the game where and just the technique of it, stunting up rather than in, because obviously if you stunt in, you leave your guy to be open, etc. And just keep developing that, really. So just keeping the identity of the team and just growing step by step with the long-term goal in mind. You know, I was fortunate enough to coach in the academy for many years, you know, experienced working with some incredible coaches. I mean, I'm so fortunate with that. So what it has given me, it's given me an opportunity to see what's happening at this place, and then, you know, knowing where these guys are and is it fitting there, and vice versa. So that's always, I think, really, really important. Great.
Now, I've knowing you personally and having got many conversations with you about basketball, I think you're a fantastic, I think you do a fantastic job of finding areas of personal development. Before we end, I want you to find one point where you think you did well in that game. Tell me something that you did well in that game.
That's difficult, isn't it?
It's not. I can.
And the first thing we always review is what you did well. You know, so I got to practice what I preach here. I think it's always very difficult in a specific game, because coaching's a journey that you know is generally the growth is outside of that. So I was really happy with. I was just happy with how we arrived to that game in terms of how the team was, the chemistry we've been built, and kind of the learning I'd implemented into like what we were doing. So I'm a big, you know, Alan Keane has helped me tremendously with that over the last couple of years. He's been absolutely fantastic. I can't thank him enough, because he's just shown me it's not even a different way, but it's a really positive way. And I feel that sort of rubbing off. So the relationships I've got with the players now are really, really positive. I think in that game, we were able to challenge each other. I'm able to challenge the players, but support them. And I think I've started to do a really good job of that now, to help them be the best they can. So that's probably what I'd say in the long-winded version anyway.
I think that's another great answer. Okay. All right. I've taken enough of your time. That was awesome. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I do believe other people who are watching or are running junior sides can learn a lot from this, but not just about a game, but the overall delivery of a program. So thank you very much for sharing with us all of the bits of knowledge that you just gave us then. So thank you very much.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure. And you know, I think just two things to end with from me. I think, first of all, there's a lot of good stuff going on in junior basketball. I think it's great that we're giving it some exposure. You know, I think that this is so important, because this is where, you know, we've got to be better as a nation to work with younger and younger players and produce better players and take the responsibility for that. So if this just sort of highlights, you know, some of the, you know, even if it's a very small percentage of some good stuff going on somewhere, I think that's really important. And you know, I'm more than happy to speak to anybody and certainly learn off anybody. I mean, you know, there's a whole plethora of really great people out there. So, you know, I will continue to strive to do that. And secondly, just thanks to you for being able to have this platform. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've been so excited about coming on, and, you know, told all my colleagues, etc., and, you know, my family and stuff like that. It's been an awesome platform, and I've really loved it. So thanks very much, Mike. Much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. What a lovely way to finish, especially about the comment with the other junior side. So I really appreciate your time, Ben. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.